thank you for coming out. As Phil said, I'm Steve Gaudet. I'm the president and CEO of the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development. And I'm assuming that based on how we did outreach, that all of you know who CNHED is, because you're in one of our databases or kind of business clusters. I'm really excited to have us having this event today. DC is really fortunate to have a robust ecosystem of people who care about the small business community. We also have a robust system of banks that provide small business lending, of community lenders, of CDFIs and others. But the other thing I think we're really fortunate about in DC is that we're pretty good at paying attention to emerging trends and new opportunities and new models. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So we are elated to be partnering with the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, who you'll hear from in a second, with SMBX, which is the business model that we're here to discuss, and be supported by Wells Fargo Bank, which provided some of the operational support for this initiative. Small businesses have gotten deserved and necessary attention over the last couple of years. The focus that resulted from us paying attention to our communities differently because of the pandemic has actually led to more sustained engagement and focus on small businesses that I think those of us who have always cared about small businesses are heartened by. And so I'm glad you all are here. I really appreciate you. We really appreciate you all coming out to learn about this initiative. We think it's a unique opportunity, and you're getting ready to determine that for yourselves by hearing from the principals who are involved with this. But first, I want to introduce our partner in the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development's officer, who's going to give us welcoming remarks and talk about the district's support of this initiative. And that is Mr. Tim White. He's the Executive Director of Equitable Development for the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. Tim, thanks for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you all for attending this. Really excited about this program. Had the pleasure of working with the folks that have been doing this. And, this all started back in early 2021. The mayor wanted to roll out an innovative opportunity to get more access to the businesses and the communities that need it the most. We launched the Equitable Capital Access Grant, and SMBX was selected as that partner. And then late in 2021 in September, we made that announcement. And since that time, as folks can see, almost 20 businesses have raised money on the platform, almost $1.5 million. But the big thing being that the areas that needed the support the most, focusing, having a special focus on wards 5, 7, and 8, that we had a business that was dedicated to doing that. SMBX opened their headquarters, their office in historic Anacostia. And with this goal of trying to get to 5 million, we see them as a really great partner in this program, which you all are going to hear more about as this program goes on. That was where we saw the biggest opportunity to do a little bit more. And we're super excited that Wells Fargo matched the district's contribution to this program and has brought this great partner, CNHED, on to help get more businesses. But the work that they plan on doing of providing technical assistance and being able to get businesses ready, that on a referral basis, if you will, with SMBX, that is probably one of the more exciting things that we see, because we roll out tools like this in government a lot. We partner with entities a lot, but we don't always really examine the outcomes as we should, and continue to modify the program and expand on it and bring in great partners in order to get to the outcomes and support the businesses that really need it. And so super excited about this program, super excited that you all are here today. And I look forward to the continued dialogue and answering questions and being a part of expanding this.
Thank you, Tim. And, I just want to do a tip of the hat to the mayor and to Tim and to the Office of the Deputy Mayor. One thing about this administration is they react to opportunity quickly. They convene people frequently, they listen, they learn, they identify needs, and then they respond really fast. And so their embrace of SMBX early in the kind of unveiling and discovery process is part of what has gotten us to this point today, where we're having SMBX talk to you and explain the platform. So Tim, thank the mayor on our behalf, and we appreciate the administration's entrepreneurial spirit about introducing new opportunities to the business community here in the district. Okay, so we've talked around it. Now let's talk about it. It's my pleasure to introduce from SMBX, Sean McGee. He is Director of Business Development and Partnerships, and he's going to explain the initiative. I posted in the chat that you, at the end of this, will be able to ask questions live, but you can also put questions in the chat, and we'll be monitoring the chat to catch any questions that you may pose there. But it's my pleasure to introduce Sean. Sean.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate that. First, I want to thank all of you all for being here and sort of assembling today to learn a little bit more about SMBX. I want to also thank our partners, DMPED, CNHED. Tim, thank you for your opening remarks. Steve, thank you for the wonderful partnership that you have. And also Wells Fargo. It's organizations like Wells Fargo, DMPED, and CNHED that truly do care about the backbone of our city, which is all of you who are gathered here today, small businesses. So with that being said, I want to share a slide here. I'm going to go off camera. I'm sure you guys appreciate my smile, but I think the presentation will be a bit better. Allow me to share my screen. And then let me know. Let's make this small. Let's move some of this. All right. So we should be good to go. With that being said, we're talking about SMBX, and we're talking about helping small businesses raise funds through community. A little bit about myself. My name is Sean McGee, not a DC native, but an Arlington native. I have been in the area for all of my life. The biggest thing here is I'm a big DC sports fan. I love my Washington Commanders, hoping for us to get into the playoffs here. Tons of experience working with business owners and business practices, more than a decade. If I'm modest, I'll keep it under 15. But I really left my prior organization because I wanted to be a change in my community. I was kind of tired of thinking about the change that we could be. And up pops this amazing company called SMBX, where I could actually sort of challenge some of the disparities I saw in my clients and actually help them move the needle, whether that was scaling or growing their business or really just getting off the ground and sort of having a more robust way of doing that. SMBX was a solution for me. So what is the SMBX? Phil, I see a few people wanting to be admitted there. The SMBX is a new era marketplace connecting high quality small businesses like those of you gathered here today with the everyday citizens and investors that actually love our small businesses. So we are a fintech company based in San Francisco, California. We are really focused on democratizing finance, obviously supporting small businesses. And the biggest key for me, and what I think all of us gathered here care much about, is generating and keeping wealth generation local. So as small businesses, we all know that you all generate money and you pay taxes, and those local dollars we want to keep flowing right here into the city. And we want to make sure that this is a vibrant place for all of us to coexist and live. Another thing that's really interesting about this program, there are many ways to get more capital. We'll talk a lot about it, but the biggest thing is that we reduce the cost of borrowing for business owners by not charging any private lending fees, zero origination fees. We'll talk more about the DMPED partnership and DC Rebuild Bond Program. That's why we have that. And we don't require any personal guarantees. So that is part of our $5 million DC Rebuild Bond Program in partnership with the District of Columbia and DMPED. So Tim sort of already spoke a little bit to this, but back in September of 2021, we did enter into this relationship. Tim also spoke to a couple of the numbers there. What's interesting there is that although we've seen 20 businesses come into this program, and raise funds to the tune of just under 2 million almost. What's interesting is that the investors in DC are really supporting small businesses. So the more awareness we can create around this program, which is why we're having this conversation today, we do see a healthy appetite for investors actually investing into the small businesses they love and care about right here. Specifically, we're focused on businesses like yours. You all are a priority. If your business is located in wards 5, 7, or 8, we certainly look forward to working with you and having a conversation in the future. So this is just an idea of what this relationship talks about. And when I sort of look at this slide, what I like to share is that everybody on the left or the right and on the bottom is focused on supporting the backbone of our community, small businesses like you, whether it's Wells Fargo, CNHED, ourselves, all of the chambers of commerce is here. We have working relationships, and the main focus is to actually bring forward access to capital in a very affordable way, in a very new and exciting way. And in fact, this is in a way that has not been done before. So as far as the program goes, this is the DC Small Business Bond Program. Simply put, businesses can raise debt financing from their community and grow. So what does that mean exactly? Well, what it means is that we will issue bonds on your behalf. Some of you may have no idea what a bond is. I kind of like to stay away from the word. You'll be able to ask more questions about that. We could book some time one-on-one and break that down. But a dear president back in 2013, actually, President Barack Obama, signed into legislation the Jobs Act. What he did for the first time in the history of our nation was allow everyday small businesses and privately owned businesses like yours to borrow funds directly from the public. Well, what does that mean? That means we're going to have fixed rates. We're going to have a lower reduction in the cost of borrowing. So we're not really going to have to be too concerned with the rising interest rates and everything that the Federal Reserve is doing. If you've been following that closely this year, you know that the Fed has raised rates more than 6 times. At first, it was 25 basis points. Now it's 75 basis points. It's gotten to the point where if you're going to a bank, if you've ever experienced taking out a loan from the bank, you're probably eyeing somewhere between 12 and 17% just to originate that loan after all the fees that are being passed on. When you borrow money directly from the public, we're going to see rates somewhere between 5 and 11%. So there used to be a time where I would say that we're really competitive with the banks, but in today's age and at the rate that we're moving, we're actually becoming the preferred option. So anybody across the nation on our platform and in our marketplace can invest into your business. We're specifically looking at DC investors. Obviously, the DC government is funding this program. The reason there's no origination fee is because they've agreed to put that money up. So you can actually take all of the money that you raise. We would usually take a percentage of that just for getting all the work done. But the financial opportunity and the wealth that's created here as a result of this program, most importantly, it stays in DC, it's generated in DC. So we all get to eat a little bit together and stay happier. So the biggest question I get is sort of around qualifications. What are the requirements? How does this work? What do I need to do? What do I need to know? Happy to walk you guys through that real quick. So from start to finish, before we jump into these requirements, the entire setup process can take less than 3 weeks. We will work as fast as your team does. We have a marketing team that is in-house. We have our own underwriting team that is in-house. We will put you through a preliminary assessment. That preliminary assessment is going to allow us to ensure that you can actually service the debt that we discuss. Whether you're looking to raise $25,000 for your business or $5 million, the SEC allows us to stay within those guidelines to raise that amount of money for you. We want to make sure that as a business, your financials are GAAP compliant, you're ready to go, you can actually service this debt, you're in a good position to repay that debt because you'll be paying everyday investors right here in our community back. So this isn't like a bank loan where if you happen to default on the loan, the bank sends you a letter, you're just one-on-one, and nobody ever knows about it. Since we are dealing with public and everyday citizens, the neat thing about this opportunity is that they talk to one another. So as we market to them and they're attracted to raise in your business and to fund your business, they also become clients of your business. So when we talk about the ability to service debt, we want to make sure that the investors are happy, meaning that you can actually afford to repay the debt. But more importantly, that nothing bad is going to be said about your business or SMBX or anybody involved. So that's why we go through that PA requirement. But as you can see here, as long as your business is located and registered with the Secretary of State in DC, and you have 6 months of revenue generating practices and at least 2 years of financial statements and taxes, we will be able to qualify you for anywhere from $25,000 to $5 million. With that being said, I think it's also important to let you all know that we actually hold your hand throughout the entire process from start to finish, from the marketing team working with you to SMBX and our operations team working with you. We will help you. If you do not have the financial statements, or you haven't been using QuickBooks, or it's not structured correctly, this is where partnerships like CNHED come into play. We have that partnership in play to provide technical assistance to help everyone out. These are some examples of our marketing in action and what that actually looks like. You're looking at a few DC businesses here on the screen. You may recognize a few of these. Trini Vibes is a favorite of mine. So I'm sure a lot of people know Sticky Fingers there too, Sticky Buns. We market in a way where we're actually on the ground, we're boots on the ground. We're here to help you. Now, I must be honest, we won't do all of the marketing for you. It is a partnership. Our focus is to grow affinity for your business while we're also attracting more investors. So as investors are attracted to your business, they see us out here marketing and helping your business. We'll do everything from social media, giving you context, giving you scripts. We will literally help you to be the voice that's needed across social or in person at events so that we attract as many investors as possible. SMBX also now has community finance representatives. So these are actually people that are on the ground to educate everyday investors in our city and beyond about investment, what it looks like, how they can invest. A lot of people think that they have to be a registered investor to invest into a small business. For as little as $10 per bond, they can actually invest in your business. Again, interest rates are anywhere from 5 to 11%. You as the business owner and the issuer, you will actually make a monthly payment, principal plus interest. Here's a quick snapshot of some of the businesses that we've worked with here in DC. This is not an exhaustive list, but this is just to give you an idea of who we've worked with and what you can sort of expect moving forward. Happy to share that you will be hearing from one of our very own innovative recordings, Mr. Charles Shorty Corleone, here shortly about his experience and what that was like raising. But you see, there's a number of different raise amounts here, whether it's $225,000 or $31,000. You can use these funds. We are not limited. I know usually I say that to say that a lot of banks have strict limitations on what you can use your funds for. The only two things that you can't use any of these funds for are to like purchase land and flip it, buy a house and flip it. Right now with state versus federal regulations around CBD and marijuana and different cannabis oils like that, that's the second thing that we're not going to be able to use funds for or to fund a business to sort of go in that direction. But with all of these businesses, as you'll see, a lot of these businesses are spread out between wards 1 and 3. We do have a few businesses from wards 5, 6, 7, and 8, but we want to make sure that east of Anacostia, where we know that there's some underservice and historically it's been difficult to access funds, we want to make sure that we pour in the heart of SMBX and all these relationships to those particular wards. So if you're a business owner on a call today and you are located in one of those wards and you are interested in learning more about how you can raise funds quickly and efficiently and affordably, please do get in contact with me. We'll be able to pass some information along shortly. That concludes our presentation today. I do want to briefly introduce one of our issuers who we've had the opportunity to have tremendous success with, Mr. Charles Shorty Corleone Garris, is honestly someone that I've known long before he came to SMBX as a fan of the genre of go-go music. He was a frontman for Rare Essence and continues to do a lot in our community today. Most importantly, I'm excited about the mentorship programs that he runs and how he is really one by one, from a cultural perspective, aiding and assisting our youth and some of our entrepreneurs, and really working diligently to actually help change our local society here, as we know. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Charles. Charles, I'll stop sharing my screen here, and I'd like to say thank you for being with us today, and welcome, sir.
Awesome. Sean, great presentation. I am very excited about the DC Rebuild Bond program. It has been able to support innovative recordings and our initiative to work with the community, also enhance the community and the youth. We have an amazing program called the Cooking with Capital Kids, the Capital Kids program. And it's all about teamwork and team building and character development with the youth. It's an actual series, and the participants are working together, learning the front and back of the house, versus being in a cooking youth competition. So again, they're learning how to work together, follow instructions in support of workforce development. So that is one of the opportunities that we've been able to scale up with the program. It's a series, and it represents the culture of Washington, D.C. The co-partnering component that was supported during the raise is Washington, D.C.'s very own snack brand, which is called Crank Chips. I'm sure everyone is familiar with hip hop's rap snacks. So Washington, D.C. will have their very own first ever snack brand, which is called Crank Chips. And it's supporting the official music of Washington, D.C., which is go-go. Our secret sauce with Crank Chips is that QR code. Once you scan it, it'll take you to some new releases from Innovative Recordings and the support of go-go music, as we are sustaining Washington, D.C.'s homegrown fabric of go-go music. I am a born and raised Washingtonian. I reside currently in Anacostia, and I am overly excited about the opportunity to be involved in the DC Rebuild program. And I thank SMBX for being side by side with us along the way during the raise, having the calls during the operations with the operations team, to the marketing team. And like Sean mentioned, they actually assist to get you visibility to support your raise. It's totally different than traditional banking. It's much more friendlier, and they're again walking alongside of you and verifying your checklist and make sure everything is accurate. We were definitely educated along the way with initiatives that had to be completed, such as a financial review, which is somewhere along the lines of an audit, but a little more detail oriented. So every engagement was an education component about sustainability in the business, along with giving entrepreneurs in our community an opportunity to invest back in their community. And that was something additional that is a new way of getting support from your community versus the traditional banking. But I would like to extend any questions to be answered for any entrepreneurs that are looking to get involved in this program. I think it's an excellent way to scale up your business and also get the visibility to grow your business. And I think this is a win for Washington, D.C., for the mayor's office, the deputy mayor's office, and DMPED. I salute everyone that gave this program the thumbs up to have a home here in Washington, D.C.
That's great, Charles. Thank you so much. There are a couple of questions, but Charles, I'd love to stay with you, and maybe kind of break down something you said a little more, and that is, how easy was the program for you to navigate? Because I'm imagining this is new to people, to businesses, it's different. And you made it sound really fun and simple. And so I'd like for you to just expand a little bit on the simplicity and the ease of navigation that the experience was for you.
Well, being an entrepreneur, you got to consistently find creative ways to think out of the box to get your business some eyeballs. And their creative team, matched the energy and thoughts that I had on how to give it visibility, along with the operations team explaining each tier of requirements that had to happen in order to complete the raise, in order to be accepted in the program. And their attention to detail, responding to your questions, setting up conference calls, Zoom calls, etc., was something totally different for me as a business owner trying to raise funds. It was a fun, educating opportunity, and it was a different way to scale your business and sustain your business. I haven't seen anything like it. I've seen the benefits of the program, and we are super excited to be able to exist here in Anacostia and support our community via this platform of SMBX.
That's great. Let me just remind you can you can either raise your hand and we'll give you a chance to ask your question, or put it in the chat. Excuse me. Sean, we have a question for you, and you can ask questions of Tim from DMPED, or Charles, or Sean. Sean, we have a question for you. Can DC businesses located outside of the wards mentioned also participate?
Yeah, great question. And thank you, Stephen. We are a national organization, so we work with businesses all around the country. If you are a business located just outside of the district, maybe you're in Maryland or Virginia, I have two things for you. Number one, there is a small service fee of 4.5%. That you would actually pay. So if you were looking to raise $100,000, at the end of the day, we would take 4.5% of what you raised, and you would get the rest. So you would get 96,000, we would get about 4,000. Number two, we're working diligently to bring programs like this that DMPED has actually so graciously sponsored to other areas and other municipalities. So more to come on that. But yes, outside the business, you do qualify.
Sean, as I understood the question, because I was reading it in the chat, it was whether or not, which is a great answer, by the way, because we are going to expand. I'm Peter Barden with SMBX, by the way. But if you are located in a ward other than 5, 7, and 8, the answer is yes, you are eligible to participate in the program, and we welcome your participation.
Thank you, Peter. That is our VP of Communications right there, Mr. Peter Barden. Steve, I did want to say we have a ton of resources on the call, a lot of SMBXers in the house too. So you may hear from a few of us outside of myself and Peter.
That's great. I'll tee up questions as SMBX related, and the team can rustle over who's going to respond. Actually, there is another SMBX related question, which is, what if I don't want to borrow, but actually become an investor? Is that possible? And also, their business is home-based currently. And so I'm assuming they're wanting to know, is a home-based business eligible?
That is a great question. I'd like to introduce Ms. Grace Liu, who is our head of operations. If you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about the opportunity to invest, what that process looks like.
Hi, everybody. I just put the link on the chat channel. So we welcome all investors. These small businesses need your support. You can check out our live offerings. And once you sign up, there are investor questions as we are a FINRA and SEC regulated fintech. So it'll walk you through that process. And if you have any questions regarding how to sign up as an investor, there is a help button on the lower right-hand corner of every page that you're on that can connect you to support to help you get through that process. For home businesses, there is basically a need to just demonstrate that you are a US-based entity, that you've been operational and revenue generating for 6 months at least, and that your financials are accrual-based and GAAP compliant. So if you're interested in raising capital for your home-based business, send us the information through Sean or Mike, who's also on the call. He's heads up our sales team. So, but yeah, you can also send inquiries via our website. There is a raise capital for small business owners that are interested in learning more and sort of starting the process that Charles mentioned here. So
One note to Grace's answer: if you are not GAAP compliant, or your finances are still perhaps on sheets of paper or spreadsheets or whatnot, CNHED and Steve Glaudet are there to help you get your books prepared to then come to us. It's free of charge. Wells Fargo is financing it. And you can go right to Steve's organization. They'll get you ready to go, and then you can come meet with SMBX.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. In addition to the financial or accounting assistance, we also help with corporate status. There are some corporate status requirements, and what the Deputy Mayor's Office, in partnership with Wells Fargo, engaged us to do, along with SMBX, is to work on any corporate status issues as well as the accounting issues. You know, Sean, I do have some other questions, but I wanted to get you or other SMBX members, and Tim, maybe this is a kind of reflection for you as well, which is, you know, you mentioned, Sean, that you all did kind of an assessment of the investment interests of DC as a culture, as a community. And I think that should matter to small businesses, because that's the landscape that they're navigating. Is there more you can say about that? I mean, did you do you all have like a formal vetting or assessment process did you go through to determine resident interest in investing in small businesses, particularly here in DC?
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve, and I appreciate that. And I'd like to come to our head of sales, Mr. Michael. I call him Michael C, Mr. Mike C. He sees us through everything we do. But just to briefly talk on that, and Mike, I think maybe you could speak to the tremendous amount of learning and reporting we've been able to sort of gather from DC over the past year and a half as we've been in this program. There is a healthy appetite for investment in DC. And then, Mike, if you want to speak more to it, I welcome you to do so now, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, and thanks everybody for being here. You know, DC is a city that's really worked well with us. I think very similar to what I call home here in New York. We are super neighborhood centric. We love those kind of neighborhood spots that we would like to support. We've seen some great traction and a willingness to support these local businesses. And I think the point to remember here is that, you know, this isn't a donation. The folks who invest are really receiving an efficient rate of return. Also kind of helpful to have a return-based business when other capital markets are doing somersaults. But needless to say, we've seen some great response from the local community there in DC.
That's great. Thank you. You know, I want to do a little bit of an off ramp and pull Tim in, and it's kind of building on the question that was just asked. And, you know, Tim, this is an initiative that the mayor and your office embrace. But can you say how this contributes to the larger prioritization of small businesses and small business ecosystem managed that the mayor and that your office are not only chartered to do, but actually have really embraced new ways of supporting the economic fabric of the district, because I think this is part of it and contributes to it. But I also think it's part of a bigger whole. And I would just love for the audience to hear a little bit about that bigger whole.
Sure. I think we say a lot of meeting people where they are, right? If not on the small business side, from the people aspect, the investor aspect, the community being able to. We always talk about investing in your neighborhood, but this is a way of actually truly being able to put a new spin on that. And so that was also one of the really phenomenal things about SMBX and this opportunity. But the businesses themselves, by having your own community truly invest in what you do, the larger building communities, equitable development is a term that's used quite a bit. But one of the big things about it is that the community, the existing community, not the new community that may come from the development, that the existing community feels a part of what you're doing. And so to the greater concept of what we believe this is helping to do is to just to build that community in a way that is not typically done. And so I said I'm super excited about it. I think seeing what Shorty's been able to do, seeing what some of the other businesses have been able to do on the platform like that, we want other businesses to see how successful this can be for them. And so I think that I think is the key thing for us here.
That's great. This may be the most important question. So this is definitely SMBX, and that is, who is the initial contact that they make if they are interested? Because clearly we want there to be a next step for as many businesses as this is appropriate for. So Sean, is it you, or do you want to direct them otherwise?
I will happily take that. Yes, it is me. It is me. It is I. We also have another associate on the call that will be helping out as we're experiencing a tremendous amount of interest. But you can reach out to me. I believe following this webinar here, we will make my contact information available, my email address, as well as my phone. And we'll also send out some information around the presentation today too. But you can contact me. We can set up 15 minutes to chat more, or 30 minutes if need be.
All right, we have more questions. And I actually have a post SMBX response to this. Can a landlord apply for financing for improvements to a building currently rented in a rent control building? And J&G Plumbing, I see your hand up, so you're next.
I'll take that one, Steve. The simple answer is yes. The SEC allows us to actually allow you to use funds for that. They're land tenant improvements, so you can actually do that. You can also use funds to get into your first brick and mortar if you need be.
That's great. J&J Plumbing, you have your hand raised. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Yes, good morning, Phil. We're a small plumbing mechanical contractor. We're located in Ward 8 on Halley Terrace. How would we go about raising capital for our business?
Mike, would you like to take that one? Put you on the spot here. I want to give you a
Absolutely, yeah, if I could find the mute button. Yeah, so I mean, the first step there would really be to speak with one of our DC-based reps there. Sean's been there for a long time, done a great job. Chanel's also on the call and helping out. Ultimately, this introductory call would really be to understand how good of a fit SMBX would be for the business. There are some qualifications that, we need to see checked off, but from there, we can move pretty quickly. If it's determined that we're a good mutual fit for each other, we can go through a preliminary assessment and really get you a quote within 48 hours. So I would point you in the direction of one of our DC-based reps.
And
how soon can that happen?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
So one of the things that we'll do, Sean, correct me here, after this webinar is over, we will send out to everyone who both registered and attended, Sean, your contact information. Is that the best way to ensure a quick touch? And I think Michael just answered this, but another question I think is related to J&J Plumbing's question is, what is the turnaround time to get financing? And I think you partially addressed it, but you may want to more specifically.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk timelines a bit. So once we receive a completed set of documents, right, we can come back and Grace heads up the part of our business that does this within 48 hours and essentially give you a quote. Here's how much you're approved for, interest rate, monthly payment, et cetera, all of those variables. If you're on board and you choose to work with us, you can DocuSign and be live on our page within 2 or 3 weeks. So we can move pretty quickly there. The amount of time that you're live on our page is really contingent on how much you're raising with us. We have a pretty wide spread from $25K to $5 million. So anywhere from 21 to 90 days, typically you're live on our page.
Mm-hmm. Another question is, can this be used for commercial property acquisition?
Happy to take that one. It can be used for acquisition. There are some one-off cases or very select cases that we would probably want to discuss in more deeper dialogue in detail to make sure that we can actually do that. But that's what the purpose of that first initial call is, to make sure that we have a good understanding of what it is that you're attempting to do and what it is that we can do. And a healthy exchange here will help us cross the finish line together. So that's something that we could review one-on-one, but yes, to acquisitions.
And I would be disappointed if this question didn't come up, but I think I know the answer to it. And is, do you offer any funding that does not have to be paid back? This is the DC I know and love, you know.
It's a great question. No, unfortunately, no, not at this time.
Are the interest rates comparable to bank loans?
We'll get back to you quick. Only 31 people.
Are the interest rates comparable to bank loans, or are they typically higher?
Yeah, I could take this one,
Yeah,
Sean.
that's a good question.
All right. So our rates are comparable with SBA loans, to more specifically 7A, SBA 7A loans. We've made small changes to keep current in the rate environment here. Our rates are totally fixed at anywhere between 7 and 11% based on the strength of the business.
And I think the answer to this is yes, Sean. They're asking, is it possible for the presentation you made to be sent to the participants?
I actually have yes, this presentation can be sent out, but I have another presentation that I'd like to send out that's a little bit more specific to a lot of the questions that'll be asked today. We'll make sure that gets in Phil's hand and we can circulate that together.
And this is back to the home-based business issue, and they're asking if you can fund a residential expansion of your home-based business.
Starting to get fun in here. I like it. I sort of want to tag team this one. Would we like to pull Grace into this one? Residential expansion. We're getting commercial. Our business developers are here.
Yeah, so I think it needs a little bit more detail from Phil regarding residential expansion. Currently, for commercial properties and real estate, we cannot support that, but tenement improvements that sort of build out a space for the business is supportable. So I don't know if that answers your question. If there's something very unique to your business, it's probably best to set up a little bit more of a detailed, longer conversation specific to your business needs with either Sean or team. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm talking about is I already have, I run my business out of my home. So I wanted to expand my home office, add some square footage to it. Is that a possibility?
So in theory, that would fall under potentially tenement improvements.
Okay.
The challenge that we are sort of on the both small business side and the investment side is that it has to make sense to investors for what they're investing in. So as a business owner, I would think very detailed and come up with a business plan as to what those funds are going to be used for, because the investors have to buy into the offering for you to fill it. So it's something to consider. If it's creating a jacuzzi in your backyard, that's not going to.
No.
I'm using that as like a.
Yeah, let's. This isn't anything. Look, my business has been around for 13 years. We're growing. This isn't some sort of fantasy thing. So I've got but you know, real estate's very expensive in DC. Commercial real estate is impossible to acquire now.
Yeah.
So I'm running my business out of my home. So what I'm looking to do is we have a breezeway, so we can expand into it. There are precedents for it. So I'm looking to add about 50 square feet so that I can run my publication, so we can print over here. So that's what I'm looking to do. So I have a home office occupancy permit with the city. My business is registered with the city. So it's basically just being able to expand on an existing property because I'm run out of space. I only have about 70 square feet here and I need about 150.
I would say send us your financials, send us your business plan and the use of funds.
Okay.
And then we can talk more specifics to see what makes sense for both what is supportable to scale your business
Okay.
and what we think investors would support as well.
Okay.
You know, I'll just I'll chime in. I think, Phil, your question is, and I don't think this has like gotten to SMBX or other mediums like that yet, but the nature of business operations is changing in ways that are testing some of our guardrails in new ways. I was just in a federal program conversation yesterday, and it's a federal program where one of the requirements is site control. And so in order to be eligible for this grant, you have to have a lease or a mortgage to a defined piece of property, because that's how business development is done. And some of the participants in this conversation were talking about how the shift towards social enterprises, and I'm hearing you loud and clear, as yours is not a social enterprise, but it raises this question that I think we're all going to be challenged to look at how business infrastructure is supported in a very challenging financial market, but also just the shifting economy. So it'll be interesting to see if that rears its head in some of these undertakings. Another question is, what is the longest term you offer for repayment?
Yeah, I can take that one if you'd like. So the rule of thumb is typically 3 to 7 years. However, we have seen some 7-figure deals, most notably in the Bay Area. For those $1 million, million plus, we can push it out to 8 or 10 years where appropriate.
I want to make sure I haven't missed anything. I think I've gotten all the questions in the chat. Let me check the other side of the screen, make sure I have no raised hands. So there are no more questions in the chat. I'm going to ask people before we maybe ask for any kind of closing comments. If there are other questions, raise your hand and we can ask them. And if not, let me just say this from CNHED's point of view. We're really excited about this. We are always looking for new supports for our small and minority businesses in the district. We love the fact that there is a targeted focus on areas that we know have been under-resourced and access challenged. And so the focus of SMBX is great. We love that we're partnering with the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development on this, as well as other things. And then just really ecstatic to have a great working relationship with SMBX and to be part of the delivery system that'll help get this opportunity to businesses here in the district. So I want to thank you. I see another question perhaps in the chat. Nope, that's Sean's contact information. We'll send it out to everyone. Tim, do you have any final comment you'd like to make before I ask the SMBX folks to maybe close us out? Tim may have been snatched into a meeting with the mayor, which is often the case when you're down there. And we will follow up and send the presentation that Sean indicated that he wanted to share. And we will send contact information for Sean. And of course, you all have our information we can connect you at any time. Sean or SMBX, other SMBX members, do you want to make any final statement?
I would like to put my vice president on the spot without actually asking him to do this and give him the honor of closing us out.
Oh, sure. Look, we have been working with this program with the DC community, for a little over a year. And I think from the SMBX side, we've been thrilled with the response, both from partners like CNHED, the mayor's office, the deputy mayor's office, investors who have come through and poured money into and invested in businesses like Shorty Corleone's and others in the area. And I think, an opportunity like this to talk to more small businesses and tell you what we're up to, we really want to do more of this. So if you have questions, call Sean, Chanel, anyone on this team, really, we're here to help you. And, our goal is that any small businesses who are looking to raise funds from their community in DC have the opportunity to do so. So we're here to help. We appreciate your time.
And I just put in real quickly, Phil, our team member, Phil Burkhardt's email. If you have questions from the CNHED side of the house, reach out to Phil. Phil has done a good job of standing this up inside CNHED. And I see other contact information for SMBX reps are being put in there. We'll send all of this out to you. Thank you all for taking time out of your day. We are really sensitive to the fact that you all are business operators, and this is the heart of your money-making time. And we appreciate you taking time to be with us today and learning more about this initiative. We're going to stay with this. We're excited about it. More to come. Thanks, everybody, so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.